Hi and welcome to this video. So it is a release day today and this is the book here that I'm releasing. So it's Breaking Ties, which is book 2 in the Unbreakable series, and I forgot my microphone. Give me 2 seconds. So it is release day today and I'm so excited. I feel like this book has just been sitting there for such a long time waiting to be released. So basically with this book, I had it finished like 2-3 months ago and I had it waiting to be edited. It had gone through the beta reader stage. I was waiting for it to be edited and there were a few things that went on with that. I did go with my brother's editor and I liked her editing. She did only do like a line edit though, and then I had my grandma edit it before that because she is quite experienced with writing and going through books and things like that. So that is what happened there, and then I sent it to Sarah May Sutton here on YouTube to format the ebook, and then the print book I had formatted with Enchanted Ink Publishing, and right now it is still with them being formatted. They are almost done, and then I'm uploading it straight to Amazon, and then I'm going to have some printed and people can buy the print book. My goal was to have that done on release day, but sometimes things just don't work out. And originally I had the release day set to end of October because that was a year from when I released Unbreakable, but I was just too impatient to wait and I thought it'll be done way before then, so what's the point in just letting it sit there? I could be making money and people could be reading it and reviewing it and things like that. So yeah, it is out. So this copy, I just had the ebook formatted from Sarah May Sutton and I just put it into book form. She gave me a PDF version of it too. The version from Enchanted Ink will have like pretty butterflies and like artwork in it. So book 1, Unbreakable, I don't have a copy here with me, but that one has tentacles all through the first page and it has QR codes and interactive stuff in there. So yeah, this one will be the same. I did design the cover myself on Bookbrush, which I did with Unbreakable as well. So this is it up close. It is matte, so it has fingerprints on it, but I've actually since made this title larger so it will look better. I have to get it reprinted though. And then it has a crown, book 2, and there's the spine. Oh, back to front. We have Winter Publishing logo on it, and I had it printed on Amazon. So yeah. But in this video, I wanted to read you guys a random chapter. I'm just going to pick one out, talk a bit about how the book came to be. So this book was a continuation of book 1. It is going to be a 3-part series. So book 1 is Unbreakable, this one is Breaking Ties, and book 3 is Broken. So book 1 follows Viking world, the fairy world, and the mermaid world, and they all get intertwined. And these 3 voyages go on an adventure, and there's princesses and fairies and mermaids and Vikings and wars, and it's just like an epic fantasy. And then book 2 is all about what happens after the war settles and where these characters are at now. There's turmoil, there's mother-daughter stuff going on, battling with the inner demons, there's people having kids dying, there's people becoming queen, there's arranged marriages, I'm trying to think what other tropes are in this. So there's arranged marriages, friends to lovers, there's forbidden love, there's wrong love, so lots of betrayal, enemies to lovers, there's just so many different things. Anyway, so there's the same characters in this book as book 1, except I've tried to tell the story through some different points of views from people in those worlds that were in book 1, but it wasn't in their points of view, but book 2 it is. So that's what I did in book 2, and I really love it. I honestly feel like this is the best book I've written yet, and I know every author thinks the next book they've written is the best, and it probably is because you're a more experienced writer and all of that. I've been told that it was excellent and it was my best book yet by a few different people, so I really hope you guys think that too, and I'm really excited for you all to read it. But yes, so Jameson is in the fairy world, and he is literally my favorite character in the whole series, and I feel like I'm going to tear up talking about him. I don't know why. But anyway, I loved him so much in book one, and I really wanted him to have more of a story. Like, I felt like he just needed to have so much more of a story. In book one, he was kind of a side character, but also kind of a main character. Like, he had a romantic thing with one of the main characters, and he ended up with another one of the main characters, a different main character. And I wrote like a few side chapters after I wrote book one for my Patreons and email list and stuff like that. You can go and find it on my website at any time or on my Patreon. It is free to download. I will link it down below though anyway. I really felt like he had more of a story to tell. And so in this book, I really wanted to make sure that he had a chapter through his eyes. And boy, did he take me on a journey. Like, I felt like the whole time I was writing his character, he was just pulling me inside of the story, and it was like everything I wrote of his chapter, I didn't remember writing it, if that makes sense. Like, it just flowed out of me, and I was just like in a trance, like just writing his chapters. And then I'd read them after, and I was like, wow, like he just had such an impact on me, and I just love his character so much that I dedicated the book to him. So I dedicated the book to my kids and to him. So I'll read you the dedications. So this is the part to my kids. To my snowflake and my butterfly, for reminding me that time is of the essence and keeping my feet grounded even when my head is in the clouds. So my daughter I think of as a beautiful butterfly, and I made sure to feature butterflies a lot in this book in reference to her, and the decorations, the formatting have butterflies on them, and yeah, so that's for her. And Snowflake is my son's middle name is Winter, so I wanted to have him featured in the book too, and I do have a scene where it's snowing, and I just want to dedicate that to him as well. And then this is the dedication to Jameson. So to my characters who basically wrote themselves and used me as a tool to tell their stories, especially Jameson for taking me on the roller coaster of my life and pulling me inside the story, tearing me apart and putting me back together again, which he really did. That's the dedication, and I'll read you the back synopsis, and then I will read you a random, I don't know if I should read you a chapter or a page. Some chapters aren't that long. Maybe I'll read you a chapter. And then I want to talk a bit about the sales, because actually I'm going to do that first before I forget. So with the sales, my goal was to hit $400 in the first like week of releasing, because last release day I did sell a lot of copies last release day, and I didn't make that much in the first week though. I feel like my earnings with Unbreakable kind of were spread out over time. So on release day I did get a bunch of orders, and then they kind of tapered off, and I'm still selling copies here and there for that one. But with this one, my goal was, like, I really thought this is the best book that I've written so far. It is book 2 in a series. People will be hanging out to read book 2 and all of that. So I just wanted this book to do well on release day. And it is only like 2 p.m. and the book came out this morning and in Australia. So this is another annoying thing. So on draft to digital, the book is coming out on the 17th as well. And I thought that meant, like, in Australia, sometimes you hear people saying, say for Sophie Lark's, one of her last releases, my mum who lives in Australia got it on the date that it was meant to come out. Say it was the 17th. She got it on the 17th Australian time, which is a day before America. And other people in America didn't get it until the 17th their time. So I thought it would come out on draft to digital on the 17th Australian time, but it's still not. It's still on pre-order, but I think America, it crosses over to the 17th halfway through today for us. So fingers crossed that goes then, and then I get some more sales off there. But for Kindle so far, KDP, Amazon, I haven't gotten any sales. Like, I had a bunch of pre-orders, but today I haven't gotten any sales, which is such a letdown, honestly. Like, I feel like I could cry. On what am I saying? On PayHip, I did get a few sales. Big ones, like they were print book sales, which is obviously a lot more money than an ebook. So that is good. And I got one like first thing this morning and then halfway through the day. And I'm hoping that like once people finish work for the day, because oh no, it's a Saturday, so people are off. That makes me even more sad. I had a lot of interactions and a lot of people sharing about it and a lot of people saying they were going to buy it, which always happens. A lot of people say they will buy it and then they don't. So that's always disappointing. But I'm hoping like if I continue to just talk about it and build up banter about it, that more people will buy it. But I did want to thank the people that have so far. So I'll put up screenshots crossing out, of course, their like addresses and names and last names and stuff. But I did want to thank the people that have bought it so far, and I'll be doing this on Instagram as well. Also on Instagram, I did put like a Q&A release day thing, which I always do, and I answer questions. Last year that went really well, and last year I also did a like pick a page number and I'll share a passage from the page. So I did that yesterday to lead up, and I only literally got 2 questions, which was really upsetting. And then today, I've also gotten 2 questions on my Q&A, not more, which is really disappointing because I like to have that interaction with people on release day and all of that. And I made like a YouTube trailer for this book like I did with all my other books, and lots of people said they liked the look of it and all of that, so I'm really shocked it's going this way. But I guess like I don't know, people are more picky these days with things being more expensive and inflation and all that about what they buy. I don't know. I do sell my hard copies in my friend's store as well, where I'm doing a book signing there next month. So I often sell copies of books in there, and I've actually made more money there than anywhere with my book sales. So hopefully on the book signing day, I will make a fair bit my money back. But yeah, I guess we'll see how we go. But I did put the most amount of money into this book, I think, than I ever have into any other books. So that was that's a bit of a letdown. But yeah, I guess it's too early. It's early days now. It's too early to judge. I will pick a random chapter and let's read. Okay, so this I'm actually going to pick 2 because I want to read a Jameson chapter, and this did not open into a Jameson chapter. But this is Bottle, who also broke my heart writing her. The things that she goes through in this book, the things that I put her through, the things that she had to overcome is just incredible. And she came out in the end stronger than ever. And in book 3, we're going to see that her strength as well, but through her child's eyes, because this book 3 is going to be next generation. But anyway, so just to give you some context here, Bottle is in an arranged marriage with Bear, who is a Viking leader, and Bear is attractive and everyone wants to be with him, but she was picked to be with him. She's not very beautiful in her eyes. She's plain. She used to pick on Bear's best friend, Sage, who Bear and Sage have always kind of been like friends to lovers situation, like when is it going to happen? But it still doesn't happen in this book, FYI. Not to say that it will, like you just have to read to find out. It might, but yeah, so that's the situation here. And Bear is basically, Bottle is basically trying to get her husband to love her, and she, chapter 15, Bottle. I pulled the string that held my top together, barely letting it fall open, exposing my bare chest. I was expecting Bear back at his tent at this hour, so I sat on his bed and waited. If I was going to make an impression, it had to be bold. I needed to be on his mind constantly. I needed to make an impression that would last. So I sat and I waited, chest bare and heart exposed. The cool air licked at my skin. It was only a few seconds before I heard voices, Bear's and someone else's. They quickened towards his tent. I hastily pulled my top back together. Lumbagar, which is a Viking swear word. I wasn't expecting that he would be with someone. The voices rapidly came closer until they were at the entrance. Come in, I'll show you what I wrote about Sugarland. Bear's voice was excited like a child's, like he was talking to a child. He emerged backward, still speaking with his guest, until he turned around and saw me. And so did Malachi, a boy from our village. They both took one quick look at me, and Malachi burst out laughing. It was obvious, even though I was holding my top shut, what I was there for. The bottom half of my skin was still exposed, my stomach peeking through. The wind touched my skin again, reminding me how wrong this was. So Bear and Bottle are not married at this point. She's trying to be married to him, like she wants to be married to him, and her father and his father have arranged for them to be married, but basically she's trying to make him like her. Malachi turned to Bear. It seems you have company, a snicker laced between his words, and I knew it was going to be the gossip of our small community by tomorrow. You can show me that journal another time. He turned to leave, whispering, Wait until the boys hear about this. The words were obviously meant for Bear, but floated back to me, sending me into a spiral of even more shame and embarrassment. Bear gawked at me, his mouth falling slightly and then shutting again. Bottle, I wasn't expecting you, was all he said. The lack of emotion in his voice confirmed my fears. Tears erupted from their hidden place, pushed down where no one could see them. I pulled my garments together tightly and sat on his bed. I let my head fall to my knees and I sobbed in defeat. This was beyond embarrassing. He would never want me now. Surely he thought I was the most foolish girl to ever think I could seduce him and get him to love me. I tried to speak confidently, but my sobs were holding me back. You must think I am so foolish, I said between sobs. There was a long pause, and every second that went by with no words pulled me further down into a shame spiral. I stood to leave his tent and run as far as I could to hide in my shame when he grabbed my hand, pulling me back down. Caught off guard by this sudden change in mood, it took me only seconds to get on the same page. I locked eyes with him. Actually, the opposite, he said as he pulled back down to his bed. We sat there facing each other, hand in hand for a long moment before he took my other hand, the only thing clasping my garment together, allowing it to fall free, exposing my chest once again. I gasped, not knowing this feeling over being bare and so close to someone else. I watched him watch me, his eyes trailing along my exposed skin, hungry for my flesh. At least I assumed that's what his gaze meant. I wasn't too experienced in the nature of gazes. I wanted him to want me, so I was open to his desire for me, even if it made my stomach do foreign flips. As he stopped short below my breasts and trailed his hand up toward my hair. His fingers left a trail of butterflies as they moved up my body. His dusty eyes stopped at mine, shooting feelings through my body that I didn't know existed. You are so beautiful, Bottle, he breathed, his lips moving closer to brush against my own. I closed my eyes in a dizzy haze of desire, embarrassment, and other things I didn't know existed as I savoured his words. Words that had never been spoken in relation to me before. I left the tent a woman. I wasn't sure how or why, if it was just the act itself or the fact that someone had taken interest in me, but I was changed. My father saw me emerge first and hastily made his way toward me, his tone hushed. Not sure if he was going to scold me or be thrilled that Bear finally had taken an interest in me. I turned my face away. He pulled it back with sturdy fingers around my chin, revealing crimson cheeks. He let out a sigh of what sounded like relief. Well done, child. He will marry you now. How can you be sure? I really looked at him now, hair mess and clothes looking like they had been slept in. I pulled my top tighter as I heard people talking. My father followed my gaze. Don't worry about them, child. They won't be laughing when you are their queen. And don't worry about him. If he even hesitates on the idea of making you his queen, I will see that his reign ends. How? Sometimes I thought my father thought he was more powerful than he actually was. Don't worry, child. Just keep doing what you're doing. Make him fall in love with you, and I will take care of the rest. I watched my father walk off, hoping he was right and this wasn't going to end up with me being rejected and becoming the unkept woman of the town. I could see it now. Bottle, the girl that Bear slept with as a joke. Bottle, that ugly girl. She actually thought she could get someone like Bear, our future ruler. I hung my head in shame. Okay, and let me find a Jameson chapter. Okay, so some context. Jameson has run away from his ruling as king in the Isle of Fairies because his heart is elsewhere. So he's going to find the person that he's actually in love with. It won't be long before people are looking for him and he's going to be in trouble. So he's running, he's on the run, he's a pirate at this stage, and we're about to see what he is doing. Okay, so Jameson, chapter 38. The waters were rough and my feelings were rigid. I was out of my depth, that was for sure, and I had a lot at stake. The princess had seen me, and I wasn't sure if she would be sending out her army to retrieve me or get their boat back. I also didn't know how Violet would react to me coming to live with her. Okay, actually, this chapter is too spoilery, so I'm going to find an early Jameson chapter. An earlier one, chapter 16, Jameson. One magical night later, and I had seen my wife through a different lens. Oh my gosh. Just realised my hair was on the microphone that whole time. Hopefully it's not muffled. One magical night later, and I had seen my wife through a different lens. She was courageous, bold, and incredibly smart, and she was my wife, mine. I hadn't planned on anything happening, but last night things had been different. I sat up in bed and looked toward the bathroom where Iris was standing. She had scissors adjacent to her hair. Her hair had been cut into a short style, falling just below her ears. It now matched mine in length, all but one piece. She made the final cut, watching me watch her, as the piece fell to the ground. She walked away after that, leaving the hair a mess on the floor behind her, and pulling up the robe she was wearing, a little higher on her back. I waited for her to leave before getting out of bed and making my way to the bathroom. Her hair was soft under my feet as I made no effort to avoid stepping over it. I kneeled, picking up a piece and inspecting it. The thought of my wife being too busy to do mundane chores such as cleaning up her hair made me chuckle. I swept it up with my hands and put it aside. This signified a shift in her and us as a couple. I cleaned up and joined her in the courtyard. She was giving another speech. She acknowledged me with her eyes as I stepped in next to her, slipping my hand over her back. This time she didn't recoil under my touch. A twitch began at the corner of my mouth as my gaze fell upon her. She liked me. So just some context, this was also an arranged marriage. But this is in the fairy world, whereas Bottle and Bear were in the Viking world. Iris announced that we would be officially taking on ruling, and with one new tradition in place, the people began to request an old one. Seal it with a kiss, they bellowed as more and more residents chimed in, sealing our fate. As darkness fell upon us, we collapsed, sprawling out on the bed where Iris fell asleep quickly. Strings started pulling away at me. Was I being selfish and wanting to leave now? Even if I was, I couldn't pull myself away from that book. Pull me away from Iris, from the Isle, and into the deep, vast ocean towards Violet, towards adventure. Jameson has always felt a pull away from the Isle of Fairies, but he's always been too scared to leave, and now he is in an arranged marriage with his cousin Iris, and now that he's actually starting to like her, he's super conflicted about if he should leave or stay. And he found a diary. Basically, I'm not going to say whose it is or anything about it. There is a little piece of the diary in here that I'll read, but apart from that, you'll just have to get the book to read it. Every hand-drawn map that I trailed with my fingers across brought a new story, and with it a new lust for the ocean. The adventures he had, taking the hand of sea maidens and exploring the ocean's floor, still able to breathe despite being a creature of the sky, in disguise as a creature of the land. I slid my fingers under one of the aged pages and skimmed my eyes across its story. The wind whipped my ashen hair. This is a passage from the book. I pulled my own shoulder-length golden locks. As did the sail blow, as it led me to glory and freedom. No longer am I under the restrictions of the kingdom. Melda will rule over me no more. I will run with the people of the land and live like a pirate, taking what is mine and not living by restriction. I will drink the golden liquid of man, and I will not live in fear of death, as death is the only freedom for a mer. That's supposed to say man, but that is a typo, so that's annoying. Death is such a sweet gift in comparison to what awaits me if I go home. Here I can choose if I live or die. Here I can control the information that is put into my brain. I can sit against the uneven wood of my ship and let my mind escape to another place, to any place that I like. My mind is no longer clouded by expectations or false realities or filtered information about kingdoms and prophecies. My mind is finally my own, and that is freedom. So shall I die, I shall die a free man with a mind unmasked. And then that's the end of the diary page. I let the crisp pages turn as I pondered the meaning of his words. I flipped to the back of the book. When Melda was in ruling, we did often go into our own meditation spots to download the latest news and information about the Isle. We learned everything we knew about life that way. It was how schooling was taught. Could that be clouding our judgment? Was that what he meant? I had never even considered that. If I left the Isle, would my thinking be different? Iris had left the Isle. Had her thinking changed? I wanted to ask her, but didn't want to risk her finding out about my secret book. His description on the next page of being on a boat made me long for the ocean, long to feel the cool breeze upon my skin, to have freedom from my nagging mother who seemed to care about nothing other than the status of Iris's fertility. This is another section from the diary. Why did I come back to this place? This place is not home. The inscriptions on the page were written with the utmost care. The way the ink ran along the page only made the words more intriguing. This is trickery, sorcery, hatred, and death of the soul. They are not kind enough to give you a sweet release of physical death because they want to keep you present enough to control you and feed you their lies. They are set to kill my soul, the only thing that I have to tell me what is right and wrong. They want to take my free will. I just so hope that someone finds this book one day, even if it is when I am long gone, and learns the truth. I slammed the book shut, my chest rising and falling rapidly. What was I reading? A book of nonsense. None of this could be true. It must be some sort of work of fiction. That was the last time I would open that book, until I opened it again that night. I tried to forget about it, to carry on with my royal duties by Iris's side, but I just couldn't help my curiosity. Fiction or not, I needed to know more about what this man knew of the kingdom and royalty that ran it, the royalty that I was now a part of. So I'm going to leave it there. So I hope you guys found that interesting. Thank you for sticking around with me on this video. I know this is a super long video, but thank you guys for sticking around to watch it, and the formatting video will be up soon as well. So I will see you guys in my next one.